Renowned saxophonist Jay White has a new holiday album out. It's titled A Jay White Christmas. We'll visit with Jay White in a moment, but of note, White has performed on Playlist 48, Arizona PBS's digital show that connects viewers with musicians who live and work in our communities. Season 3 kicks off this Saturday with a holiday special featuring Jay White. New episodes are released every other Saturday at noon on Arizona PBS's YouTube channel and on our website at azpbs.org. You can use the QR code you see right there on your screen to see the first 2 seasons of Playlist 48, and you can also subscribe. Let's now get to our visit earlier today with Jay White. Jay White, thank you so much for joining us on Arizona Horizon. Good to have you here. New holiday album, A Jay White Christmas. Why a holiday album?
It's something I've always wanted to do. This album is actually 2 years in the making, and I love Christmas music. You know, my family loves Christmas, so I had to put something out this year.
Familiar songs from your childhood, I would imagine?
Absolutely. Some of my favorite Christmas classics I think you all would enjoy.
When you hear the playback, you know, obviously you probably heard the playback quite a bit.
Yes.
And you hear the songs you remember as a kid, and now you're interpreting them. What do you think? What goes through your mind?
Well, it, of course, it's nostalgic. You think of your childhood, but I always try to put my stamp on my music, you know, soulful, melodic, and kind of a jazzier edge to it. So I was excited to kind of put that together this year.
Does having those childhood memories, does that make it easier or more difficult to kind of interpret and work around them?
It makes it easier. You know, I've had presents growing up and siblings and things of that nature, so it's easy for me to get into the Christmas spirit.
Talk about your family. Talk about getting into music. What got you into music?
So I started playing at 10 years old. I brought the note home to my mom, and she's like, "You're getting in the band." You know, I'm from Detroit, so I wanted to kind of stay out of trouble and just focus on music. And so I started getting serious at about 15, went on through college, and started playing professionally as an adult. So yeah, my whole life, basically.
When you started at 10, was it just pop stuff? Was jazz there at the beginning? When did jazz really take root for you?
Jazz definitely took root at the age of 15. You know, I joined the jazz band in high school, and I remember taking my first solo at a competition and got a little bit of an applause on that. And so from that point on, I was kind of hooked to it.
That'll do it. Was there anything else about jazz, though? Was it the fact that you have to do a lot of improvisation with jazz? It's not, you know, follow the note every single.
Right.
Was that attractive to you?
Very attractive. You know, improvising is like life. You know what I mean? So you gotta make up things as you go sometimes, but you gotta make sure you're staying in with the flow of the music.
Right.
Like you stay in the flow of life. So that's why jazz always kind of was, you know, responded to jazz music.
So starting at 10, jazz really hits at 15. But you know, a lot of people get into music, and they do, and they go, and they do. And when did you know you were pretty good at this, and this is something you could do for the rest of you, make a living at doing this?
Well, my teacher, he wanted me to get in the jazz band really bad. I was kind of reluctant, so I would say around the age of 15 and 16, you know, I kind of excelled at playing by ear, and I would hear something on TV or the radio, and I was able to kind of figure it out even before I started learning how to get into the nitty-gritty of things. So I would say 15 or 16 is when I felt like I can do this.
So you had your calling that pretty early, and you stuck to it then.
Stuck to it.
Any rocky roads along the way?
Absolutely, rocky roads, you know. All type of different jobs, you know, ups and downs, but the one thing I never did was stop doing the music, so.
Well, who inspired you? Jazz musicians that inspired you?
So I loved some of the old school cats like Charlie Parker, Cannonball Adderley. I love Kirk Whalum. He's kind of a more modern contemporary player. And then my uncles were both musicians in Detroit. They played behind the Temptations and Four Tops, so I kind of have music in my family as well.
Wow. Playing behind the Temptations and Four Tops and the Motown bands and sounds. A little more pop-oriented than jazz-oriented. Did you find that attractive as well?
Yeah, well, it's all kind of intertwined. You know, jazz kind of is the foundation of things, but a lot of the progressions and things is more intertwined than what people think.
And a lot of people think that jazz is just basically getting up there and playing and doing your thing.
Yeah.
We talked earlier, I mean, you went to school, you got music theory behind, you know the whole 9 yards, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I graduated a degree in music and, yeah, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, yeah. When you teach, or when you taught, I don't think you're teaching anymore, right?
No.
When you taught, what would you tell kids? What would you tell a Jay White who's 10, 12, 13, 14 about music?
Well, practice makes perfect. You know, you're not going to get it by osmosis, and you just have to stick with it. There's going to be, you know, sometimes when you don't feel like playing, and those are the times when you have to dig in and actually go ahead and go deeper into it, and just have fun. You know, don't take it as serious. You know, it can be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, yeah. What's next for you?
So I'm headed to Mexico in a couple of days for the Mexico Jazz Festival.
Wow.
Then, of course, the album's moving around, and we're heading into 2025. We're going to hit the ground running even more.
Yeah, well, it's great speaking with you. Congratulations on all your success and with the new holiday album.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you play us out of the show?
I think I can do that.
Can you do that for us?
I think I can do that for
All
you.
right, do that, please. Jay White, again, his new holiday album is A Jay White Christmas, and he has appeared on the Playlist 48. Among the many who appeared on that program, Jay White is getting ready now to play us out. Give it a shot there, Jay.